Happy Wednesday, Calvary Chapel, Murfreesboro. We have a lot of people that got the memo to sit in the center section. Nicely done, Pastor Kent.
Hey.
Nicely done, church family. Man, it looks like there are a lot of people when we're all sitting in the same section. Let's worship God because he's worthy of our praise.
Raging at my feet, I can feel the breath of love surrounding me. I can hear the sound of nations rising up.
Jesus, a name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Jesus, a name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe, we live for you. Oh, we live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will put my trust in your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. 'Cause holy, there is none like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Lord, we are thankful that we know the truth. We are thankful that you have opened our eyes and that we understand that our purpose here on this earth is not about us, it's about you. And that we have the understanding that our time here is very, very short. So, Lord, please fill us with your heart and lead us to those who need your love, so that we can accurately represent you as one who is kind, and one who is patient, and one who loves and is the giver of hope and mercy and truth. And those are all things that this world is dying for, and they might not even realize it. So, Lord, fill us with your heart so that we can spread joy, so that more people will be drawn into your presence, and so that they can see that you are good and they can surrender and follow you too. In your name, Lord, amen.
Well, good evening, Calvary Chapel. Good to see you. Good to have you here with me. Good to open up the Word with you. It's the joy of my heart. Had a great time in Philly last week, but I missed being with you guys. And it was great to go back and watch the stream and see that everything just moved right along. Getting used to that, but still, it's a joy just to see that things just roll on here, no matter what. No matter who's here, no matter who can't be here, no matter who's in Philly, no matter who's here. We had half the church go to Philly one day. We still had church.
No matter how hard it rains, how many tornadoes.
Exactly. Through rain and sleet, and like the mailman, we just keep delivering. Good discussion. Anything you want to add from those first few verses of 2 Samuel last time? 20?
You know what? I'm not even exactly sure where we made it up to. I just kind of restarted.
It's really the first three verses, really.
Yeah, we didn't get too terribly far. We were, and then we got drawn back into 19, and we came back forward, and we tried not to go back again.
That was kind of my favorite part when you went back to 19. That was the best discussion all night, actually.
It was. So I think the timing of things here can get lost if you're not careful. How quickly this is happening. Does anybody know what Sheba means? Nobody knows? Ron, you didn't look up Sheba?
I did not look up.
Really complicated one. It means 7.
Perfect.
Yeah. So is he the perfect rebel?
Apparently. I don't know. He didn't actually do that well.
He didn't do too well. So
yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. Of all the people in the Bible named 7, this guy. You know,
his parents were hopeful.
Yeah.
You know.
They were. So he does do the rebellious call out. He says, "Hey, we have no share in David." So what does that do? In a modern concept, what is he doing?
It's canceling David.
Yeah, we have to admit that. So it's like a cancel culture thing. He's denying his authority over them, is what he's doing. So it's kind of like the "you're not my president" type thing. Okay, very similar to that. And then, nor do we have inheritance in the son of Jesse. So what does this do? Any notions? Why would he refer all the way back to this? This is old. I mean, David's been around a while. Why would we bring this back up again?
If he's doing that, it invalidates his kingship in the first place.
Exactly. He's seeking to invalidate the whole concept of David even being worthy of being king there. So he's attacking him on several different levels here very quickly in these 3 lines. And then every man to his tents. So he's standing up in rebellion and then calling others to follow him is what he's doing.
Yep, and everybody's got a decision to make.
And most of them appear to make the wrong decision.
It would appear it doesn't work out well either.
Yeah, exactly. So
But it's all extremely self-centered. You know, the entire concept of God's leadership was supposed to be, I will be your king. God said, I will be your leader. Let me lead you directly. And we're like, oh, no. We want a king. We want to follow a king. And so we're 2 kings in now. And now they want a king as a figurehead. But they want what they want.
exactly.
They don't want to follow anybody. They want a king that will give them what they want.
They want a king that won't rule over them. They want a king that will protect them in a time of war.
Exactly.
That's exactly what they want.
They want a savior and not a lord.
Exactly.
Modern Christianity right there.
Yep.
So sad.
Other than that, was there anything else really to be talked about the concubines?
Yeah. That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're up to.
I actually would paint him as gracious towards them.
Yeah, I think he was.
Continue to take care of them.
Very.
Because they're kind of in no man's land, like no pun intended, but like they're in a very awkward situation now.
Yeah, he can't have them hang out with him just for appearance's sake.
Yeah.
Because people might start talking. You know what occurred to me is very interesting, is Absalom is worthy of a crime here with the concubines, very similar to what he killed his brother for.
That's right.
I thought this was really fascinating. You know, he multiplied that by 10.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they were accursed in that.
Very true.
And, the same thing happens to them.
Very true.
It's very interesting that Absalom turns around and does the same thing when he has the authority.
See that a lot in fleshly leadership.
Yep.
Happens all the time. Do as I say, not as I do. Verse 4. And the king said to Amasa, assemble the men of Judah for me within 3 days, and be present here yourself. So Amasa went to assemble the men of Judah, but he delayed longer than the set time which David had appointed him. There's the problem with politically motivated appointments into important positions of leadership. We see this all the time in our government. It's repaying favors or just making sure you have loyal supporters or trying to appease some segment of the population, and you choose your leadership according to that. And a lot of times they're just not qualified. They're just not ready for the position that they're given. And that's what's going on here. Everybody knows I'm not a big Joab fan, but his abilities as a military leader, unquestionable. He's a leader of men. He would have had everybody there for the deadline.
Oh, yeah. They would have been 10 hours ahead of time.
Exactly. They would have been waiting there when the king woke up the next morning.
That's right.
Verse 6.
So, yeah, he's obviously underqualified. He doesn't bring to the table what he's supposed to do. The king gives him a fairly simple thing to do, and he's unable to pull the people out of the population. Probably because the men of Judah don't like him.
Yeah.
Right? They obviously don't have a lot of faith in him as a brilliant military leader at this point. He just got 20,000 of them killed. So, in their defense, why are they going to step up behind this guy?
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree.
Although I do like what David gets to do now.
Verse 6. And David said to Abishai, now Sheba the son of Bichri will do us more harm than Absalom.
I'd have given $1 if he said, go cut off the head of that dog.
Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, lest he find himself fortified cities and escape us. So Joab's men, I love the wordplay here.
Isn't that interesting? I spent a lot of time on this, and I couldn't find anything really to justify it other than simply what it says.
I think it's just service level. Yeah. He turns to one guy and says, take the men, but it says Joab's men went with him.
They all knew who their leader was.
Yeah. So Joab's men with the Cherethites and Pelethites and all the mighty men went out after him, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. When you can't count on having the help of everybody and you have a potential catastrophe on your hands and it's a time-sensitive situation, you turn to the ones you know will act predictably. Right? Even if you have issues with those guys. I mean, David loves these guys and he's annoyed by these guys, Joab and his brother, what part do I have with you? You guys are a mess, but he can count on them.
They're always willing to step in.
He knows that when he says jump, they generally say how high, and they go and they do the work. These are David's most loyal guys. Mentioned specifically the Cherethites and the Pelethites and the mighty men. When it's time to anoint his son Solomon as king later on, these are the guys that he has there as a force representing his interests in that, because that turns out to be a contentious situation too. These are the guys who, when they show up, everybody's like, "Oh, David's guys are here," and it changes the atmosphere.
You know what occurred to me we had not done yet? We've had these guys brought up quite a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually the Kerethites.
Okay.
But you know what their name means? The executioners.
Ouch.
They are the executioners. Is what they're known as. And the Pelethites, they are the couriers. So you got the executioners
And the couriers.
And they go and get the job done and move on.
Yep. There you go.
It's all you need for it's the perfect mob.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. Like they were designed for this work. This is what they were born for, right?
Yeah, it does mention that these are the group of foreign mercenaries that David has put together over the years. And
yeah.
That's who these guys are. It's his private bodyguard, the executioners.
Yeah.
Now, who How does Absalom mess with a guy that hauls around 400 plus guys called the executioners? How do you come up with that as a good idea?
At least Sheba knew to run.
Yeah,
You know?
she was not hanging up.
Everybody to their tents. Me first. Verse 8, when they were at the large stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa came before them. Now Joab was dressed in battle armor. On it was a belt with a sword fastened in its sheath at his hips. And as he was going forward, oops, it fell out. Then Joab said to Amasa, Are you in health, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa did not notice the sword that was in Joab's hand, and he struck him with it in the stomach, and his entrails poured out on the ground, and he did not strike him again. Thus he died. Then Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba the son of Bichri. Meanwhile, one of Joab's men stood near Amasa and said, Whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, follow Joab. So it says that Amasa shows up. He rounds up some guys. He's late.
Got a few guys.
Yeah, he got some guys. You know, he's late, but he's there, right? It says there before, and I actually heard some commentators say that he beat them there, but the word doesn't actually necessarily mean that. It can be the same as, like, I'm here before you tonight. Not that I got here earlier than you did, but I'm here in front of your face. Where, I'm presenting myself to you. It means in front of. They may very well have beaten him there, but he intends to establish himself as a leader anyway, as the leader anyway.
I very much read this as he walked in front of them.
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah. Like thanks guys, I'm here. I'll take care of this now.
Let's go.
Yeah. Joab drops his sword. Do we ever see Joab making a mistake in battle?
Nope.
He's pretty good with the sword. He's pretty good with his equipment.
Just falls out of his sheath.
Yeah. Oh no.
Boom. Yeah. Which you described to? Do you describe to that he picked it up?
Yeah.
Or that he gave the impression he was unarmed, approaching Amasa while he had another sword?
Oh, wow.
Because it doesn't actually say that he picked it up.
Right.
So this is interesting because I've heard it both ways. And most of the time I hear it as he fumbled it and picked it up and nonchalantly approached Amasa in this format.
Although that doesn't really work because Amasa doesn't know that he has it. It actually says that.
Yeah.
Amasa not knowing that he had the sword.
Yeah. So to me, it looks like
I hadn't even thought of
it
that.
fell on the ground and he's like, oh yeah, I'll get that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulled out his ankle piece and used that instead.
It's
I watch a lot of
Does this
CSI
mean
and
that
stuff.
it was unsheathed, like stealthily unsheathed? Like instead of fell out, maybe the words underneath it mean it's.
I will double check that it means it fell out. I did not question it fell out. Let me do that. I'm sorry. I dropped the ball over there.
At any rate, he definitely made the one sword fall out on purpose for some purpose of ruse. Either it was to because what I also think makes perfect sense is if he were to have that one fall out, then he reaches down and grabs it, and it's in his hand, but there's no reason to take that as an act of aggression. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, he just picked it up. And then he grabs him by his beard. Now, that's not aggression either. That's actually a cultural thing, you know. Like one man in a situation might grab the other one and kiss him on his cheek.
I have to try that with Nick.
Thankfully, nobody in here has beard hair long enough to grab it. I can't actually try it and see how this works.
Where's Gray when you need him?
Thankfully, he's many miles away.
Lee, we could do that to Lee.
Come
here, Lee. Come here.
You gotta have to grab the whole buddy.
Yes.
Come here, brother. Are you in health, brother? So, whatever the ruse, Amasa doesn't see the sword. Things don't turn out well for him as a result.
The wording does mean to fall or to let drop or to cause to fall.
Okay.
So theoretically, it hits the ground.
Yeah. Joab gives a fake greeting, stabs David's appointed legal representative in front of everybody, and is about to retake control of the troops, even though David has told his brother to do it when Amasa didn't show up at the appointed time. Man, Joab is just a force of nature. Man, he just does Joab. You know the phrase, you do you? That's what Joab does. Man, he's like, I thought you were fired. Me? No.
Yeah, Abishai's the talking one. You know, Abishai's always like, let's go do that.
Yeah.
And Joab's already over
He's
there.
already over there.
He did not ask permission to cut off the guy's head. He just showed up.
He's been fired, but he's a leader. And he's been the leader of these guys.
You know, I was
For a
thinking
long
about
time.
this too. So, not necessarily that he was fired, but he was demoted. All right. Because I think he still had authority there. He was still hanging around. The troops still.
Oh, yeah, fired from a position.
So yeah, he's no longer the general.
Yeah.
But he's obviously.
It still says they were his men.
Yeah, and that's where I get that. Since they were still considered his men, I'm still thinking that.
But not considered his men by David.
Oh,
in that
because he
sense,
said
I
he put
think.
Abishai over it?
Yeah. Because he turns to Abishai.
See, to me, Abishai's always standing there. Joab's not the one standing there. Like, Abishai's always standing next to David when the rocks get thrown, and he's like, hey, can I go kill that guy? All right. And Joab, he was not standing around. He was back sharpening his sword. He was busy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear David is not behind Joab at this point. You know, he's demoted him. He doesn't say go tell Joab to take the men. He says he says to Abishai, you take the men. But Joab is the leader.
Well, yeah, because
Abishai doesn't contest him either.
yeah, in the sections to come, David's like, okay.
Yeah, we'll get there, but David's going to roll with it eventually. He's a leader. People follow leaders, so they're rallying around him. I think it's a pretty striking illustration of his influence over that army. You know, you can appoint somebody to a leadership position. Doesn't mean they're a leader.
That's a very common problem.
You see that all the time. Real leaders emerge. It doesn't matter what the title is.
Yeah.
And people follow them. Joab has been in the trenches with these guys. He has led them to hell and back on more than one occasion. And he's the one they want to follow.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that these guys did not go with Amasa.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, these guys were hanging around anyways. They didn't go off when Amasa was gathering the troops.
Yep.
Now, maybe they were planning on joining up in the 3 days and then going with him.
Yeah, maybe.
But it seems pretty clear that nobody really cared.
I don't think they took him seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. 12. But Amasa wallowed in his blood in the middle of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people stood still, he moved Amasa from the highway to the field and threw a garment over him. Then he saw that everyone who came upon him halted. When he was removed from the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba, the son of Bichri. A good leader knows what to do in every situation. This is not what you expect a general to have to deal with, really. But he's ready to go. He's ready to fight. He's back in control, and guys are rallying around him. But they're just standing there looking at this guy wallowing in his own blood in the road. What I'm taking from this is the disrespect that Joab has for Amasa. He didn't finish him off.
He chose not to specifically.
Yeah. For it to point out that he only struck him once.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Joab knows how to kill guys.
Yeah.
Right? Because that gets pointed out all the time, too. Like he knows where to strike them so that they're dead.
Exactly.
And
this is not just a stab wound. Like this is you have to cut it.
He cut it,
It's
yeah.
a slicing function.
Right.
So and he could have lived for quite some time.
Yep.
In this, thus he's wallowing, which literally means that he's flopping around in it.
Yep.
In agony.
Yep.
So, what do you take from that in the group that's standing around?
They're uncomfortable with the situation. I mean, what do you mean?
Well, Joab's gone off. Like I think Joab turned around and left. Like he's walking on, and this other guy's standing there, you know, directing people, traffic lights or something.
Yeah.
Because it does specify that it's not Joab, that it's one of his men, right? Joab's men stood near Amasa and said, the whoever favors. It's interesting to me that these guys stop. It can also mean that they weren't really kosher with what was going down either.
Yeah. That's why I say they're uncomfortable with what they just saw.
So it's a bit of a, hey, this has to be resolved before we can move on. And not that they even bury him. It doesn't even really say that he kills him. He
just drug him off and covered him up. Yeah.
Covers him up and lets him lie over there on the side of the road. And everybody's like, okay, that's good. Let's go. Or that's when Joab turned around and said, hello.
When you allow people to not have to come face to face with an uncomfortable situation, a lot of times they're okay with it.
Yeah.
Even when they have to actually see it, they're not. That'll preach.
What do you think of verse 11?
11. 11? That's back in the other section. One of Joab's men stood near.
Yeah.
The time.
As Amasa's sitting on the ground, right?
Yeah.
So, whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, follow Joab.
Yeah. I mean, I just see him tying Joab to David. But what are you talking about?
Well, this I think is an interesting call to what we see these days, where I call Christian packaging, where people say, well, if you're for Jesus, you're also a Republican. Or if you're for Jesus, you believe in this, or you buy this, or you do this, or you walk this way. What was that I heard? Somebody describe it a couple weeks ago. If you're pro-Jesus and love nuclear weapons, step over here. Okay, well, hold it here. I am pro-Jesus, but don't necessarily love the nuclear weapon part. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of this packaging, especially Christianity, in our environment, okay? And this is kind of that same kind of packaging.
That's true.
Hey, those that are with David, you're
Follow
obviously
Joab.
with Joab, follow Joab.
Right.
So,
which is what Saul did with God back
Exactly.
before. He was like, hey, come fight for God and protect me.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's an interesting modern notion there of the diatribe.
Yeah, I didn't notice that, but you're right. The whole Christian nationalism thing, I got to tell y'all, it makes me a little nauseous. I don't think we should tie Jesus to anything.
Amen.
I think it's a huge mistake, especially politicians, even ones you agree with. Like, don't attach them to Jesus, because you can't trust those guys. Sometimes they fall. Even the good ones fall sometimes. Don't tie their validity to the validity of Jesus. It's two different things. We're not nations. We're not citizens of that first. We're citizens of heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Verse 11 also made me think of in Exodus after the calf, when Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, who is on the Lord's side, let him come unto me. And then all the tribes of Levi gathered with him. Also this gathering.
It is the same concept. That one is legitimate.
Yeah.
And maybe this one kind of is, but I'm not sure that it's legitimate the way they're using it. It kind of is legitimate in a way, except for David didn't send Joab to be the leader.
This is one of those things where Joab is doing the right thing in the incredibly wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, he is on the right mission. He's just doing it in all the wrong ways.
He's so good at that.
He could have easily just walked past Amasa, and nobody would have paid any attention to Amasa.
He didn't even have to kill him.
No, he didn't. He could have just slapped him upside the head and walked on.
Yep. Could have just ignored him.
I don't think Amasa would have done anything.
I think you're right. I think he would have known that.
Thank you for that. I must have had a fly on me.
I think he could have slapped him and then just put his hand on his sword.
Yeah.
And Amasa would have been like, "Oh boy, look at the time. I gotta go.
I think I hear my mama calling me.
I've got brownies in the oven." Okay.
And these are cousins too. I mean, these are family.
Right.
But who's to say Joab's not considered one of the Lord's servants? Like David said, take your Lord's servants and pursue him. So, I mean, they didn't want him to get somewhere and escape and be safe. So it seems like that's what he intended.
I'm not following.
That's kind of what I'm saying is he's doing the right thing, but he's going about it the wrong way.
Well, my point is not that Joab is not one of the Lord's servants, but that he's not the appointed leader by David at this point. He is the leader just by nature, but he's doing the job that has been given to somebody else. But he's doing the job.
So do you not think that, yes, Joab is not the main commander, but he's still, like I said, a field commander maybe. He is still over the men. Yes, there is just like there's a general, and then there's people underneath the general that actually lead the men.
That's all conjecture. We don't know. All we know is he was taken out of his position.
Okay. But it also
Twice.
tells us that Job's men, so looking at the
Yeah,
Bible,
but
taking the Bible as inerrant, they were Job's men.
Yeah, but I think that's the literal definition of them. That's the reality of it. Even though Job had been taken out of the position as their leader. That's my point. That's why I like the wordplay there.
Oh, see, I think both of those can occur. See, I'm kind of the opinion that Joab was the leader of those group of men. Like, he was the general of that group of men, and Amasa was the overall general of the army. There would still be sub-leaders. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, all I'm saying is when David had the chance to mention Joab, he mentioned Abishai. That's all I'm saying.
All right. And Casey, I was thinking I understand you. And when you mean servant of the Lord, you're talking about the Lord, right? Or what were you saying?
I was using the words that he said.
Well, it's a lowercase l. So he's basically telling them take the king's men, David's men, because it's a lowercase l. It's not God's army in that
But
sense.
if Joab's still in the army, like it doesn't specifically say, Abishai, you are the only one that is allowed to.
Oh yeah. I think Joab's still in the army. I just my perception of it is that he's been stripped of official leadership, is what it seems to me. And that's conjecture, and I think the other side is conjecture too. We don't really know.
True.
All I know is he sent Abishai when Amasa messed up.
All I know is Abishai's not mentioned anymore.
Yeah,
Because he's smart enough to keep his mouth shut when Joab shows up.
told Abishai to take him, but he wasn't appointed any position. Amasa was appointed.
Yeah, but he
now
turned
it's
that.
like, hey, he's not doing his job. Can you go find him? He didn't say, now you're in charge.
Oh, I don't think he said go find him. I think
Well, he said,
I think David is seeing a mess.
It's going to cause us more problem than Absalom did.
Yeah, but he's talking about
Amasa.
no Sheba.
Oh, Sheba. That's right.
Yeah, she was the problem.
I got you. He didn't tell him to go.
Which I think is-
He told him to go find Sheba.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think what's interesting about that,
That's
and we
what
didn't
I
actually
was-
talk about it.
I was thinking he sent him for a Mason.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Okay.
she was going
Okay.
for.
Okay.
I understand you.
I feel so much better. I was very confused.
But
It was
you
like I was
also-
laying in the road wallowing in my own blood.
You also can look at Joab about the Amasa thing. Two things. One, David appointed him over him, so he probably had a rivalry type feeling against him. Secondly, I think he felt, you're not doing the job.
And I get, like, we see Joab act all the time in that kind of atmosphere, right? Like,
Yeah.
Joab's like, hey, you're obviously not cutting it, you're cut loose.
Yeah.
And he's just very literal in everything that he
But,
does.
like you said, David didn't tell him to do that.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because Joab always only does what he's told to do.
I know, always.
14. And he went through all the tribes of Israel to Abel and Beth Maacah and all the Berites. So they were gathered together and also went after Sheba. Now, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
People follow Joab.
And he didn't just go through Judah.
Yeah,
It says he went through everybody.
yeah. Then they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth Maacah, and they cast up a siege mound against the city, and it stood by the rampart. And all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Listen, you guys know I got a lot of problems with Joab, but he's in his element now, and he shines. And this is what he's designed to do. He's in his element. The chase is on. He's gotten rid of Amasa, who he knew was going to slow him down. He's taken control of the army again, even though, in my opinion, David has made it clear this isn't his job to do anymore, and he's found his man, the one who dared defy the king.
Who's in a walled city like David didn't want him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like how Joab doesn't necessarily send the messenger back to David and go, what should we do here? As Amasa would have sent like three guys, make sure, we need a
But the
delegation
people in
going.
the city knew who he was.
Exactly.
And they knew what kind of man he was.
They know exactly what's fixing to go down.
Yeah.
This
That's
is not
why
going
ladies
to work out
like-
well.
That's right.
Hey, Joe, we know it. Hey, isn't that you, Joe?
They got some spotter in the rampart going, can you see which guys those are? Oh, those are the executioners. Whew, okay. And the old lady's like, hold on, I got this.
I just picture her like really hobbling up, like putting it on, like, Joab.
Hey, somebody found the Joab.
Then a wise woman cried out from the city, "Here, here."
Not that she's old. Why did we apply age?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. That's silly.
'Cause she's
She could
wise,
easily
I
been
guess.
20.
Yep, she might be young lady.
She was just very smart.
I didn't mean to make you guys mad.
No, you didn't.
Okay. like they've had enough.
They're
She's
leaving.
walking off like an old lady.
How dare you call her an old woman?
We'll see you guys next week.
Have a great trip.
Bye. Love you. Miss you.
Then a wise woman cried out from the city, "Here, here. Please say to Joab, come nearby that I may speak with you." When he had come near to her, the woman said, "Are you Joab?" He answered, "I am." Then she said to him, "Hear the words of your maidservant." And he answered, "I'm listening." So she spoke, saying, "They used to talk in former times, saying, they shall surely seek guidance at Abel, and so they would in disputes. And I am among the peaceable and faithful in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why would you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?" And Joab answered and said, Far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy. That is not so. But a man from the mountains of Ephraim, Sheba the son of Bichri by name, has raised his hand against the king, against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. So the woman said to Joab, "Watch, his head will be thrown to you over the wall." Wow. This is quite a conversation right here.
Did you find something interesting just in the setup here? So the woman comes to the wall, right?
Kind of like when he sets up the other.
Yeah, because there was obviously tradition where you don't do that.
Yeah.
Like you don't approach the wall. Because what was it when Uriah got killed, right? And they said, "Hey, why would you even get close to the wall? Do you not remember the story when the woman dropped the millstone on his head?
Yeah.
Like this was obviously something he didn't do." And here's Joab just walking along up her.
What do you need?
What's going on?
His demeanor is interesting too.
Yeah.
He's actually very soft and respectful to her. Now, I feel like there's something more to the story that we're not privy
I
to.
think Joab's an incredibly complicated guy.
Yeah.
I really do. I think we have a tendency to try to simplify him a lot.
Yeah.
But I think he really is constantly trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
He's
Peter.
he's
On
a
steroids.
lion.
Yeah.
He's set loose.
Yeah.
He just does his thing.
Yeah.
And when he sees something that's wrong, he fixes it.
And I think he's very confident.
Yeah, I don't think he lacks for confidence.
Yeah.
Because what does he do
Yeah,
after
no
this?
matter what she says
He
to him.
turns to the king.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And says,
He
"Hey,
didn't
how's
go
it going?"
back and say, whatever. He said, "Look, here's what we did."
Yeah.
And that's why I think he's
Was it ever
constantly
just-
sure he's doing the right thing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that.
I think he's
yeah,
very
yeah.
sure in his head
Yeah,
he
yeah,
is
yeah.
doing the right
No
thing
doubt.
for David. And
Yeah, yeah,
Israel
yeah.
and
I don't
all
think
that.
there's any. I really don't think there's anything in him that is. I don't think he's seeking for himself.
Yeah,
I don't think he's trying to make a name for himself
And
or
that's
get
why-
the throne. Or
exactly. That's why I don't think he had a problem like a vengefulness against Amasa, because I don't see that in him.
Mhm.
He's just a lion.
Yeah.
And there was a weak one that was in charge of his men, and whether the weak one's going to get him killed or whatever, that he's going to move on.
Yep. This lady's pretty sharp.
I do like the lady a lot.
She's confident without being arrogant. She's logical in the face of great turmoil and danger. And because of that, she's a great blessing to the city and Joab.
So why didn't she ask for Amasa?
She may not have known
Maybe
anything
word
about
got-
that whole
maybe-
situation.
Maybe word got out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Would
She
they
was
have,
scared. She threw her head over the wall.
I mean, would they have had watchers on the wall to see who it was?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what Joab looks like in his battle armor. It's probably not hard to identify. It's all red.
From blood.
It's probably not different.
I was thinking her speech, it's different, but it does remind me of what Abigail's speech when David was out to kill Nabal and his whole household.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's kind of
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. Yeah,
Why
it
would
is.
you wipe out everything for this one thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Her argument is brilliant. Like it sets the proper context for where they are. Like, hey, it's not just you shouldn't be attacking a city. Like the city is special. The city is part of the heritage of the history of Israel. It's been respected and a place of honor, a place of faithfulness, a place that other people flee to for resolution.
A home of peacemakers.
Yeah, yeah. So why are you here banging down our door?
We opened it.
She does something I wish wasn't such a dying art these days. She staved off physical attack with wise words instead of brute strength. Anger, no disrespect, none of that stuff. She doesn't challenge Joab at all. She asks a very honest, straightforward question.
Yeah.
Why are you doing what you're doing? I wish people would do that. Instead of going immediately after somebody for what they are doing, which just leads to escalation, I wish people in disagreements would ask the other side, hey, what's your perception of what's going on here? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah. Because we assume that we understand their motivations and
Yeah.
what they're doing. The guys on the wall probably just assumed that Joab was having a bad day and showed up to kill everybody. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, let's talk to him and see what happens.
This is why I'm not sure that she would have known about all the changing of the guard with Amasa and Joab and all. I don't know. But she probably knows this guy's in the city and doesn't know that's the reason Joab is there.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I'm
interesting. See, I think this is a smart woman. I think she knows what this guy did.
Why?
Because all the men of Israel followed him home.
No, they went to their own tents.
They went, yes, but based on what he said in their rebellion. Like, she would have heard, like, men went home and didn't talk about it?
Well, this all happens pretty quick.
I mean, aren't there two places?
You're right. This
really-
wise woman, who was obviously a widower and just lived off in the corner of the place all by herself. That's why she was worried, because she had the house that was on the other side of the wall they were tearing down.
I like the thought that she didn't know, because this wasn't done in secret. So I wonder how close he was when he's hearing somebody yelling, like, we can take care of this.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, she represents herself as a member of this place that ends disputes. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what they're all about. She's immediately now
And she goes to the people in the city
it's to bring
and
peace.
says,
Yeah.
and to me, probably says, does anybody know this guy? Is he somebody that came into
I
the
like her
city?
because she's an obvious source of leadership.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, she's obviously somebody people listen to in the
Right.
city.
Right.
Right.
Which is why I think we can assign her some degree of age, because she seems like an elder of the city.
Here's something really, really wise about the way she approaches him with setting the context of the city itself and coming to immediately attack it. This is something I wasn't aware of, something that escaped me altogether. But when I looked into it, you might think this is a stretch. I really think it's worth mentioning. In Deuteronomy 20:10, there's a commandment for battle. When you go near a city to fight against it, then proclaim an offer of peace to it. And it shall be there, if they accept your offer of peace and open to you, then all the people who are found in it shall be placed under tribute to you and serve you. Now, this is about enemies, obviously, and not Israel. But the concept is there. Because then it goes on to say, now if the city will not make peace with you, but war against you, then you shall besiege it. So really the protocol was what she did. See if there's a way to resolve this problem first.
So that's interesting because I wonder what command that
Well,
He didn't say go to the city and offer them peace. He said wipe out every one man, woman, child, and all the livestock and all that stuff.
well, he always has the authority to
Well, I
command
know
it.
he does,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm just interesting that that was actually before Joshua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, so when was that for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't have the full context of that.
Yeah. I don't think that's a stretch. I think that's at least it's something in there.
Yep. Then the woman in her wisdom went to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and threw it out to Joab.
See, this is something nobody in today's history would do. That's where they have the problem. You know, it's like, yeah, we can solve things, but if it comes to a certain thing like this, then be like, well, we got to protect this person.
Mm-hmm.
No, maybe you don't. Maybe
Yeah.
you need to turn them over to them.
Yeah.
Kind of like back in Judges when the Benjamites were protecting the guys that
Yeah.
did all that.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they throw the head out. Then he blew a trumpet, and they withdrew from the city, every man to his tent. So Joab returned to the king at Jerusalem. What's the etiquette when you throw a dude's head over the wall to the waiting army below? Do you holler out, heads up?
That's what I was saying. That was the first one.
I've been waiting all day to tell that joke.
I thought you had that. Was Abishai the one that went over and picked it up and hauled it back?
Did they tag this?
I think he had his own
This
big
is
bag.
great.
That's what Abishai had.
Did he have them just sitting there waiting? Oh, just toss this one over now?
Yeah.
They're just going to get ahead of the game.
Oh. Let's quit while we're ahead.
That was the worst dad. Ahead.
But I think they did it
So
just-
Joab returned to the king. See, I think that's important.
Yeah. What do you say, Alex?
I think it's interesting that they do the act of beheading themselves, and that saves them from opening the gate.
Yeah, don't even
Uh-huh.
open the gate.
Yeah.
So it's like,
We're not going to take a chance you're going to come in.
Yeah.
We'll take care of your
I am
business.
curious how long it took. Like, did Job have to wait a while?
Yeah.
You know, how long
Did
did
they
this
have to go
take?
find a guy with the hiding in somebody's house?
I'm just curious.
How big was the wall
How long
city?
do you wait for a head to come flying over the wall?
So he goes back to the king, like we said. Like it's just Joab being Joab. He
Rolls
just
down the ground.
as far as he's concerned, he's been the leader the entire time, and so he's just doing his job. He goes straight back to the king. Like it's not like he goes back and says, "Hey, Abishai had meat." No, he just goes back.
What's the next verse?
And Joab was over all the army of Israel.
Okay. I
Well, see,
understand.
and now it mentions that Benai, or whatever his name is, the son of Jehoiada, was over
the guys that they
the
said.
guys.
Yo,
Mhm. Well, over that specific subset, yeah.
I'm saying Joab wasn't over them anymore, specifically as the subset. They had to have a new guy come in to be over them. That's what I'm saying. See? It goes back. It's an onion. You gotta keep peeling it.
I think he was always over there.
When you get to the middle, it's very sweet.
Yeah, because it says Job's men with those other guys.
Yeah. I think this was always the
And
leader of
Bunny
those
went
guys.
out with it.
Yeah. So Joab was over all the army of Israel. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and the Pelethites. I know I said that wrong. Adorm was in charge of revenue. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. Sheva was scribe. Zadok and Abiathar were the priests. And Ira, the Jairite, was the chief minister under David. We don't really know what chief minister is. In my mind, the conjecture, I think this is the replacement for Ahithophel. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like a close advisor,
Yeah.
you know?
That makes
Saying
sense.
here, priest for.
Yeah. So Benaiah is actually worth mentioning. He was the captain of David's bodyguards and a famous member of the special group of mighty men called the 30. In chapter 23, it talks about him. Later, he established Solomon as king, like I talked about earlier. In 1 Kings, it says that he eventually replaced Joab as commander of Israel's army. Joab remains so long as David is there. But you know, David tells Solomon to deal with some of the stuff that he didn't deal with, you know. And this is part of that. In 1 Kings chapter 2, so this is Solomon. Then the king said to him, Benaiah, do as he has said and strike him down and bury him, because Joab has run in fear of his life now. He's gone to the temple. He's grabbed hold of the horns of the altar, like asking for mercy, right? And Solomon sends guys to pull him out of there. And he says, no, I'm not coming out. If you're going to kill me here. And Solomon says, okay. So he sends Benaiah there. Do as he has said, and strike him down and bury him, that you may take away from me and from my house, from the house of my father, the innocent blood which Joab shed. So the Lord will return his blood on his head, because he struck down 2 men more righteous and better than he, and killed them with the sword, Abner the son of Ner, the commander of the army of Israel, and Amasa the son of Jether, the commander of the army of Judah, though my father David did not know it. Their blood shall therefore return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of his descendants forever. But upon David and his descendants, upon his house and his throne, there shall be peace forever from the Lord. So Benaiah the son of Jehoiada went up and struck and killed him, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. The king put Benaiah the son of Jehoiada in his place over the army. So ain't nobody getting away with nothing.
He also,
He had a house in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Joab also went with David's other son
Mm-hmm.
when Solomon was supposed to be
Right.
king.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Anointed that guy, celebrated that guy.
Yep.
That's when now that you link these two, I hadn't linked it together. I was always like, well, because he did that, that's why Solomon did that, but it was more because of what he was told.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For now, though, Joab is safe. There's not even a conversation between him and David when he gets back. He just comes back like, hey, in case you didn't know it, I'm still in charge.
So David didn't ever know about Amasa.
Yeah, I don't know if it means he never knew or he didn't know when it happened.
He didn't know
Yeah,
that he was going to do it.
it can be interpreted as he didn't order it.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah,
thought.
Yeah.
So
He
he didn't cause it to happen. Joab just did it on his own.
Yep.
Which
Yep.
is very true of both those. So
Yep.
The,
So he shows up, still doing the job he was fired from. Even David doesn't seem surprised at this turn of events. He just rolls with it. Why? He's king. He can do whatever he wants. Why does he roll with it?
Because the people follow.
I think there's 2 reasons. You might find fault with some of Joab's decisions and methods. I do. But his reasons for doing what he does aren't really in question. His motivation is to keep David in charge. He might be a bit of a rabid dog, but he's David's dog. And then secondly, we've already seen David consider political ramifications in his decision making during this time, and wisely so. And at this point, it would not have been politically expedient to remove Joab, because he just did everything that needed to be done. Took care of it without killing anybody but that guy. Which is odd for Joab. I mean, he killed Amasa, but that really wasn't part of this. This was civil war. Mm-hmm. And though you could really credit the woman for her wisdom, you can credit Joab for that too. He was wise to listen to her.
I am curious what he would have done when he got in there.
Yeah.
Would he have just gone towards her?
Probably, but
there would have been.
When you start the hornet's nest, you know how that ends up.
And if you're not shouting over there what they're coming for,
Mm-hmm.
people start defending.
Yep.
And then people just start dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I have an interesting political thing here.
Okay.
So looking back in the big picture, Shimei throws rocks at David and stuff, right? Comes back when David comes over the river. Shimei is a Benjamite.
Mm-hmm.
Comes with 1,000 Benjamites.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Says, man, I am so sorry for everything I've done and all this stuff. And David gives mercy to Shimei in that. The guy in this same event that stirs up the trouble is another prominent Benjamite.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And later on, when David's passing, he says, hey, we got to get rid of Shimei.
Right.
Okay. I think David comes to the conclusion that Shimei and Sheba are working together.
I don't know. I hadn't thought about that.
I think it's fascinating that they're both Benjamites.
Mm-hmm.
Shimei shows up with all these guys, who then turn and follow this other guy,
Mm-hmm.
and assuming Shimei went with him too.
Yeah, he must have.
Yeah, because there's no.
Could have said everybody wins. Yeah.
So I wonder if it's a bit of a show.
Possibly. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's very possible. The one thing that I do really see here is David is back on his game.
Yeah.
Like he's very aware, very much in charge again.
How fast he reacts to this.
Yeah.
Is what's
Yeah.
important.
That's what was missing for that whole hard period.
Exactly. So I mean, he has that whole issue with 20,000 Israelites just died because of an act of rebellion. He sees this next act of rebellion, which he sees, I think, is a stronger act of rebellion than Absalom. And probably even more so because at least Absalom had some arguable right to a throne and was a reasonable choice for a leader, whereas this guy is just a total rebel, it says, a man of worthlessness.
Yep.
So I think he's, at least moving quickly in this regard to fix the problem that he sees brewing.
Yep, I agree. So, at least for now, a time of confusion seems to have ended. As the dust settles, David is on top of the hill again, where he's spent most of his adult life. And the nation of Israel is technically still in one piece. He did squash a rebellion. He did stop a civil war from happening, though an undercurrent of that civil war will continue. And the northern and southern tribes will literally split under Solomon later on. But for now, he's done about all he can do.
Yeah, I think there's undercurrents around the entire time that David's king.
Yeah, there's obviously more to
that.
Way more
whole
to
issue that Abner had to go through to get Israel on board with bringing, making David king, and he's supposed to be king and all this stuff.
Yep.
I think there's clear evidence that this is a real holdover problem from Saul.
Yep.
They split under Rehoboam?
Rehoboam and Jeroboam, the two brothers. I don't know if that was the beginning of the split or not,
It was
but
Solomon's son, right?
Yeah, because it happens right after Solomon dies, effectively.
Because Philip used to call him Jerry and Ray Ray. Praise that.
They were Northerners, weren't they? Not Southerners. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessing today, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to gather together, just to sit with your word and chew on it, Lord, and study over these things. Thank you for the discussion we've had discussing these things. This book that many people think is just, dead and has no purpose in study and things like that. Lord, forgive them for not understanding the depth and the importance of your word. That you had this written down for a purpose, so that we can hold it in our hands and we can study it and we can learn from it. We can learn from the acts of David. We can see what happens in our culture, in this same culture. There's nothing new under the sun. And Lord, allow us to learn from these lessons, to understand how, as Christians, we are to walk in this world. You've given us so many examples of how things happen and how things go down and what the right thing to do is. Lord, infuse us with your Spirit and open our eyes so that we can apply all these lessons that your word blesses us with to our walk in this world. And Lord, I pray that we can help refine it and move it closer to the light with this knowledge that you possess us with, that we can use that like the light bulb in the dark to attract the lost home. Lord, bless us and guide us, protect us as we go into our time of prayer now, Lord. I pray that you will just fill us with your knowledge and your Spirit, Lord, and open our hearts to a word that you have for us in our prayer. Allow us to be a two-way communication time, Lord, so that we can hear you and see you and magnify your glory in all that you do. In the most holy name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. If you're watching online, you have the link to join us via Zoom for the prayer meeting. Please do that. It begins immediately. If not, we'll see you Sunday. But until then, love God, love everybody else. Prayer meeting has started.